Hello and welcome to the PocketGamer.biz podcast. My name is Rick Cowley, the editor of PocketGamer.biz, and joining me today are Matthew Ford.
Hello.
And Keighley Partleton.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Is everybody doing well on this fine, sunny Thursday afternoon? What day is it? I had to take my time there because I couldn't remember.
It's pretty miserable where I am, to be honest. It's not the sunniest.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, it's beautiful here.
It's beautiful here as well. Beautiful sunshine and heat and warmth and everything like that. If only we could go outside. The same thing we say every week on the PocketGamer.biz podcast. That might as well be our tagline.
When can we go outside?
When can we go outside? The PocketGamer.biz experience. Yes. It's all fun and games, but we are still here literally talking about games, which is good because there's lots of them to talk about. And we will be discussing those, but from a businessy angle because we are a business podcast and a business website. So we have some stuff to talk about from last week because we missed doing a podcast then, but we've got Geoff Keighley's big Summer Game Fest to discuss, which he's announced and started doing reveals for. We've got a bunch of financials to talk about, mostly the big ones, Nintendo and EA. We've seen Gardenscapes overtaking Candy Crush Saga for the first ever time in terms of revenue. And we're going to be talking about remote work and certain studios are opening up more jobs to being remote work only. However, it is streaming month on PocketGamer.biz, where we are going to be doing some articles focused on streaming. If you are listening and you're thinking, I work in streaming and would love to contribute a guest article to PocketGamer.biz, please reach out to me. There's an article on the website. You can find my email address on there. Get in touch. We'd love to hear from our readers and anybody working in the streaming industry about what you're doing, the future of the industry, all that kind of thing. All very exciting. But I just wanted to sort of start off by asking, what do we all think about game streaming and cloud gaming and all that kind of thing? Matthew, I know you're huge on Stadia, or at least super into it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a fantastic idea. I don't know if Stadia has nailed it. I think people have to try it out and test it, experiment it. And I'd actually go more towards Microsoft with Project xCloud. I think they're way ahead of the competition in the game. The likes of Sony and Nintendo are not even touching it at the minute in comparison. I mean, there's PlayStation Now, I believe that does it to some extent. But xCloud, I think, is far and away ahead. And it's exciting, to have the opportunity to stream on your mobile, the quality of console games like that. And that's the only way right now I can see that coming to light. With Stadia, they seem still quite far behind on a lot of their promises, and I just think by the time xCloud comes out with the next generation Xbox with what's the next
Xbox Series X, isn't it?
Series X, that's it. Yeah. They've got so many names now. It's Xbox S, and then
just call it the Xbox 4. It doesn't. Yeah. Doesn't need to be difficult.
No, but when that comes out, I think they're going to push more into that, and I think if Stadia haven't caught up to date by then, they might be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's interesting that you're sort of talking about the next gen, because it's like, when you think about xCloud, I mean, they're trialing it in all these different countries at the minute, and then you're just kind of saying, next generation. It's like, well, that's only a few months away, really. We're starting to see all the new consoles being announced and stuff, and maybe in 5-6 months, we're going to see console games on every mobile phone. I mean, it'll start small. I'm sure we'll have, I think at the minute they've got the Master Chief Collection, so maybe it'll just be a million people playing that on their iPhones for a few weeks, and then we'll start seeing more games. But yeah, it's cool that this is coming so quickly as well, and I've heard lots of good things about xCloud. No, Keighley, what are you interested in or excited in the world of streaming and cloud gaming?
It is xCloud. That's all I'm excited about. It's not a secret to you guys. I'm not a massive fan of Stadia. I don't think Google nailed it.
No.
And especially on writing on the PC site, I've had to write loads about all the features that they've missed off. And I just don't think it was good enough, really. And I think it's taken way too long for them to even start rolling out the features that they promised on day one. So I think when the next gen hits, and when xCloud rolls out for everyone, I think Stadia, I think Google are in a lot of trouble. I really do.
I don't know if I've mentioned this on this podcast before, but certainly I think on the Pocket Gamer podcast, I kind of have gone with the feeling that if Google had just said this is early access and said it's a beta test of Google Stadia or whatever you call it, then it would be fine and we wouldn't keep bringing it up and going, oh, this is terrible, they've missed the mark on so many things. If they just said we aren't where we're supposed to be, so here it is, just give it a try if you want, I think it wouldn't get as much stick as it does. I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. It's something that Epic has announced with Unreal Engine 5. They've said, like, for next gen, it's going to be rolling out in a beta phase, I believe, for the first 3 months. And then it was by the end of 2020, it's going to be launched altogether. So
2021. It's even further away than that.
Well, there you go then. Even more so. If, Stadia did something like that, I think it's a completely different outlook. Because at the minute, it's just all a bit bad news with them. I think once they get round to launching games day and date, like Cyberpunk, stuff like that, they can maybe change the conversation. I think they're struggling as well at the minute, circumstantially, because everyone's stuck at home. And the great thing about streaming, and one of the potentials, is to be able to go on the road and, stream from anywhere. You're in a hotel overnight, put in your device, you're streaming. You don't have to, lug your whole PlayStation 4 or Xbox One around. But with nobody going anywhere at the minute, I think people obviously will resort to, your traditional consoles.
Yeah, I guess they've already got them in front of them, so they probably just keep using them. Although that said, like, we have seen mobile games are still growing as well, and the joy of mobile games is you take them wherever. So I don't know. Maybe it is just the fact that the more we hear about Google Stadia, there's nothing exciting or new or precious or whatever. It's just that. It's every time because they did they did a Stadia Connect recently, didn't they? That was last week.
They did.
I think.
It was like 15 minutes.
Yeah, and I was watching the whole thing and I was like, well, this is boring. Because you had Doom Eternal, which is already out. You had a bunch of other games that's already out. They finally hit some exclusive, and it was like, okay, you've got a handful of indie games. There's nothing there that I'm rushing to buy on Stadia.
It was very peculiar. It felt like it could have been a blog post. It's messaging with Google, I find, is to be the most disruptive thing, just because on the run-up to this Connect, they were hyping it up. Their social media accounts were like, make sure you tune in. We've got lots of big announcements. And they didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, there's too much bombast and not enough caution, I think. And obviously you need bombast to hype and sell stuff. But, like, when the product comes out and they're like, oh, well, actually, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have this, we don't have these games, we're maybe going to get these games. It always seems to fall flat. And the weirdest part for me about that Connect was when they took like a full 3 minutes to do an influencer-led ad break, just right in the middle, just like, here's all the people who are enjoying Stadia. And it's like, why? I should be enjoying Stadia with all the new games you've just announced. Like,
it felt very tone deaf, when obviously anything they tweet out, they're getting lots of every tweet people send out gets angry comments normally, but they are getting people requesting, hey, where's this, what you promised? And they're just not responding.
Yeah, it's true. It's very weird. But yes, the future of cloud gaming and streaming, I think, is very exciting. It's just right now we're still in sort of a beta phase, and maybe companies need to start stepping back a bit.
It's a few years off that way.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I guess when you say xCloud coming out at the end of the year, I think that's a possibility. I think it's still going to take some time. I think the main problem is we need 5G. That's the next big step, is we need more countries adopting 5G and more widely, and particularly in the UK and the US. That's where it's going to be the big thing. And we need to
US especially.
Yeah, and we need to make sure people stop throwing firebombs at 5G mast towers. But that's a different story for a different time. In terms of hype, though, someone that has just about managed to nail it is Geoff Keighley,
Keighley.
Is it? Oh God!
I knew it was Keighley. I knew it.
It's because I'm from the north, and
It's no excuse. I'm from the north.
It's because my grandparents live near Keighley. Anyway, Geoff Keighley. I do apologise, Geoff, if you're watching. I'm so sorry. And thank you for watching. Please tell all your friends. Geoff Keighley has sort of helped band together and curate a new event called Summer Game Fest, which actually is starting in the spring and is rolling through several months all through summer. He brought on board IM8-Bit, who were formerly working with E3 as the producer. He's curating it all, and he's brought on companies like EA, Bandai Namco, Sony, Bethesda, Bungie, 2K, Microsoft. We've already seen some of the announcements. I think we're going to talk about some of those a bit later. So obviously we won't have an E3 this year, and E3 doesn't seem to be going for any sort of digital thing. This is kind of our E3 now, is to have this digital event. Do we think that this is going to stay? Is this just a stopgap, or is this actually going to hold fire? Keighley, you seem like you have an opinion on this.
I think this could be the future of it. I think E3 may have made a mistake by not doing something digital, to be perfectly honest. So I think digital events like this are going to become more common, and they might take over eventually. But at the same time, people like to meet face-to-face for the meetings with the publishers and developers. So it's more personal to do it face-to-face, which is what E3, GDC, and Gamescom have going for them.
Yeah, I guess it's interesting because, like, I don't know how many consumers really necessarily want to go to these physical events. I guess the main draw for a consumer going to a physical event is you actually get to play the games. And what we're seeing, not necessarily on mobile, but on Steam and, well, mostly on Steam, is that they are now like releasing demos so people can play these games and have that kind of thing. But in a digital format where they're not potentially getting ill, where they don't have to travel around the world, where they don't have to deal with accessibility issues and that kind of thing. So I think that's really interesting. Matt, have you seen anything coming from this that's like got you excited and making you think this is the future of reveals?
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be the way. I do think E3 is going to struggle to come back next year. Not just because the face capacity is obviously great, people meeting, but that's not really what E3 is about for a lot of it. Obviously, it's got business deals and stuff that go behind the scenes, but it is, the bigger reveals, the 4 days of hype, announcements left, right, and centre. Whereas I think Gamescom can take that place, and we noticed that a bit last year with Geoff Keighley doing his own Games Night, One Night Live.
Yeah,
that's what it's called. So I think it was in a little bit of transitional period, and for years, so many people have been saying E3's dying. This, I feel like, has helped. Not helps, but has fed up the process.
Final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, basically, I don't want E3 to die. I want to go to E3. I've never been. I'd love to. It's one of my dreams. But realistically, I can't see it being around. Just how in the past, how they've treated publishers and stuff. Obviously, there was the leaking of lots of journalists' personal details last year, which was pretty horrendous. So it's very difficult for them to recover, because now that every developer and publisher this year, outside of Geoff Keighley's own Summer Gaming Fest, if they're not partnering with him, they're doing their own event. Ubisoft have announced one, Ubisoft Forward. IGN are doing their own with partnering with people, just every man and the dog's doing one, basically. So it just makes sense. Like they don't have to compete for coverage. They can just pick any random day and go, look, we're going to own this, and then all the news traffic is theirs.
And they don't need to rent out these huge Colosseum-like stages and stuff to do all the announcements, and they don't need to pay for all the Xboxes that they shove under people's seats, and they go, look under your seat, you've got a 360, and everyone goes, ah! The thing I think that's sort of kept E3 propped up, really, is this sort of... Because when I was growing up, and I'm sure this is the same for you guys, and like you read the games news and you go, oh my God, E3 sounds amazing. It's this huge mecca where all the games journalists and publishers and developers are there, and you get to play the games years in advance and all this kind of thing. And as I say, like, oh my God, imagine being sat in an auditorium and then you look down, there's a 360 beneath your feet. So great. And all this kind of thing. But I think that it started to lose its luster after a while, and as we went more digital anyway. As coverage of things went more digital, because it was great for press and print, rather. because you had this sort of delay between E3, and it was this mythical thing where it's all behind closed doors, and then in about a month's time you might hear about it. Whereas now you're at E3 and then it's just immediately live, and the gameplay trailers are up and everything like that, and anything kept behind closed doors is just left to die pretty much and loses all its focus and excitement, which is when they started opening it up to consumers and stuff. And I think that's the point at which they really actually should have thought, maybe we need to just scrap this whole thing and do something completely different.
I still think it's going to be around for a few more years. I just think it's going to be more like a PAX East or something like that. Or PAX West, wherever the PAXs are. Just, it'll be a more consumer-facing event. It's more like, it's when Nintendo pulls out altogether. And, this is the thing. Sony have pulled out, and Xbox have to some extent. Microsoft do their own event next door, which is sort of joined to the event, so they're not actually technically involved with it. But if Nintendo go, it's just like, why is anybody attending?
I mean, Nintendo isn't the be-all and end-all of...
No, but what I mean is, if Sony's not there, Nintendo's not there, Microsoft are doing their own thing. Yeah. They are the big pulls, though, Obviously, you can have people like Ubisoft and everything, but again, I just think if you don't have these big names there, your third parties won't attend either.
No, that's true. And speaking of sort of the shift to digital and the big reveals and stuff, we're hinting at it earlier. We spoke a little bit about it. Epic Games has revealed the Unreal Engine 5, the big new exciting woo, look at graphics kind of thing. I'm not a graphics person. I don't understand any of it, and I can't tell the difference between most things.
But the rocks, Rick, the rocks look amazing.
I haven't actually watched the video, but I mean, are we excited? Did either of you watch the reveal and think, wow, this is like the future of games? Or
yeah, I did. I thought it looked stunning. Very impressed. What the most incredible thing about this is apparently this was supposed to be showed at GDC, and it was supposed to be playable, which is that's the most impressive thing, because it's like what we saw. You're actually not just showing us like, a CGI trailer or, put something together. This is full playable gameplay, which is that's something else. Yeah.
And apparently it's even coming to mobile as well. I know the Unreal Engine's already sort of on mobile, but I've never seen a game like, as much as we love mobile, there are limitations on the platform compared to bigger consoles and stuff. Are we going to see mobile, like those kinds of quality graphics on mobile in 2021, or how long are we going to have to wait until we actually see that? I don't know. Keighley, have you got any thoughts on that? Without slagging off mobile.
I won't. I like my job. Let's try and keep it. I don't think we'll see it. I know it's coming out for mobile, obviously, in 2021, but I don't think it's got the full impact and use of it. I don't think it's going to actually hit till the following year. I don't think you're going to truly see what it can do on mobile at release. I think a year or two, and then we'll get some very, very pretty games.
And how good's Fortnite going to look? that's where the tech's going to really hit.
It's due to come out on Android first. Is that right? I believe end of this year, and then it's that what I believe. I skimmed over the details. I'm
pretty sure.
Yeah. That sounds right. I think it's going to be able to. It's going to be like anything, with last generation. The demos and trailers we get shown at the start are not what we get from day one. It's what we get in the middle of the life cycle, nearest the end. Stuff like The Last of Us coming out now. It looks stunning, and that's something that we were shown when originally, games came out. Obviously, that's on its own Naughty Dog engine and stuff like that. But the same with Unreal. We'll be shown games like this game that looks like Female Prince of Persia.
Or Tomb Raider, as we call it.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But like that sort of game, I don't expect for a long time, especially on mobile. I still think that's a way off, but it's definitely exciting.
One of the more interesting things, though, that they kind of snuck out with that reveal is like, here's the big flashy Unreal Engine 5 for all the people to look at. Also, they are now increasing like the revenue cap before you start having to pay royalties. So any developer using the Unreal Engine, which is free to use and free to download and develop in, now has a cap of you have to have made $1 million in revenue before you start paying Unreal any money, which is wild, because how many games out there actually make $1 million? Like, I think the question there is that targeted more at mobile developers who are more likely to hit these kinds of ceilings of revenue? Or is this still like prestige games and big companies using it for like proper console $60 a pop games? Because that to hit $1 million on that kind of game, you need to sell, I can't do maths, but at least like 150,000 copies of your game, and that is increasingly becoming harder and harder. Is that actually right? I wish I could do maths. But I think on mobile, it feels like that's a more reasonable target, because we always see games start developing and like getting that much money, and there's no limit to how many times people will pay in it, because there's always IAPs and stuff. I don't know. Like, is it more faith in mobile to hit this ceiling, or is it just Epic kind of swinging their big Fortnite money around and going, "We don't need your cash anymore. Here's our toys. Go have fun"?
I think it could be both. Mobile definitely has the capacity, but same with PC console. There's no reason why they can't take advantage of it, and it depends on it's a game by game basis for a lot of it. So it's hard to just do a blanket statement and just say yes, this will work for it. But yeah, mobile definitely has the potential.
Yes, good.
Also, can I just correct myself? Female Prince of Persia is Princess of Persia. So. Just want to put that out
there. Yeah, no.
Well corrected.
Thank you.
I mean, Tomb Raider also works. It's the same game these days.
The trailer was not Tomb Raider, I can guarantee you that.
Well, I haven't watched it because I'm not interested in graphics, but, there we go. I'll take your word for it. The other thing that Epic also revealed is they are, I believe, adding their online services as part of the development tools, which is also very cool and interesting. I wonder if people are going to start adopting Unreal more than they do Unity, because I know the Unity is still hugely popular, particularly on mobile. I guess because but I don't know why. I've tried to develop in Unity before, but I'm very stupid. So actually, like, making a game is really, really hard. And I've looked at Unreal as well, and it looks like even harder and stuff. So I'm just wondering if this is going to attract more developers, which is probably what Epic wants, is more developers on the Unreal platform, spreading the word rather than Unity. So I'm wondering if that's actually going to draw people away. But I'm not going to.
That's probably why they're willing to take a cut as well.
Yeah, but we won't bang on about that too much, because we do have things that we super want to talk about, such as Nintendo, who you may have noticed we are big fans of on the podcast, and just in general, given how much coverage we give them every time they so much as sneeze. They released their financials recently, and we saw, I should have this open in front of me, I think it was an 11.5% increase in mobile revenues over the last year. Is that right? Matt, you did the story.
That is right.
Yes.
Yep, and the Switch topped 55 million.
Nice. That was unit sales. Not dollar value, because that would be bad times indeed. And yeah, I believe someone was saying, I think it might have been Daniel Ahmad on Twitter, that mobile now makes up 4% of Nintendo's revenues, whereas previous quarter it made up 3% of Nintendo's revenues. So we are actually seeing Nintendo growing in its mobile thing. Is anybody surprised? I am a little bit, if I'm completely honest. But I don't know. Has anyone sort of been looking at Nintendo games recently and going, man, these are going to be huge. These are going to make up 4% of Nintendo's revenues in a few months.
I think the difference is, if you look at the 2018 to 2019, the games they put out, it just makes sense why, they've made more this year. They put on Pocket Camp in September 2017, I think.
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah, no, I think it was November 2017. So they put out Pocket Camp then, and then they also put out Dragalia Lost. So they were the only two mobile games they put out that year. Now compare it to last year, 2019, where they put Mario Kart Tour and Dr. Mario World. So, Animal Crossing is a big deal. There's no doubt about that. But it's definitely blown up circumstantially here.
I
but
mean,
Mario Kart is on another level.
Well, I don't know about that. I haven't seen any, because we've seen Sensor Tower figures and stuff like that and estimations. Nintendo's never properly revealed a breakdown of revenue, but I don't think Mario Kart has done like fantastically well, whereas Animal Crossing continues to do consistently well and is the second highest grossing game. Meanwhile, Dr. Mario, which you mentioned, failed completely. It was a massive...
Yeah, that failed. Mario Kart did really well.
Yeah. Did it? I mean, I haven't seen any figures lately of like how well it's particularly done.
Pocket Camp started well, but then it went off and it's just come back recently.
Yeah, that's
just
true.
Because of the trend. Where Mario Kart has actually continued to do reasonably well. And I think just overall, Dragalia Lost did very well as well. But what you've got to think is Pocket Camp came out in 2017. So you've got to think financial years and stuff like that, how much is actually been taken into account for these financial results here. So I think to say it's gone from 3 to 4%, it's not that huge of a jump. And it sort of makes sense why with the games. And you've got to think they've also got the existing catalogue on top of that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you put Mario Kart on top of Fire Emblem Heroes, Animal Crossing, Dragalia Lost, like that's where the revenue is really coming from, is that additional stuff. The thing that I found interesting is that they didn't say anything about like new mobile games that they're going to be releasing over the next year. They've kind of focused on, we are going to be focusing on the games that we currently have. Although I believe in sort of the Q&A afterwards, someone has said that they actually are developing mobile games and they're just really not ready to talk about it. I mean, do they need to start releasing more mobile games, or do they need to start focusing in on the ones that they've got? Should they take the Supercell approach? It's kind of what I'm going with for. I mean,
yeah, I think they should focus on the ones that they've got, to be perfectly honest. I don't fit, like, might not be as massive Nintendo fan as you two, but I do still love it. And it's like last year, as an example, they released Mario Kart, but less about Dr. Mario World, the better. So go with what works and build on that, rather than release any more duds.
Yeah, I agree to some extent. I think games like Mario Kart Tour and Pocket Camp you can definitely build upon. They're two huge IPs. And with Animal Crossing being the craze it is right now, it would make sense to, make a bigger deal of that. You go, hey, look, we're doing an overhaul. Here's some new features. Here, we took out a few things and, made some improvements. I think this would be the time to strike. The same with Mario Kart, but I think you could do that anytime to some extent, just because Mario Kart is in a league of its own. You look at its Switch sales, it's nearly at 25 million, I believe. And I think the second closest is about 18 million. So it's in a league of its own altogether. Apart from that, I think we need to get a Zelda game.
Oh, hell yeah.
What would a Zelda mobile game look like, though? I've been wondering this for years and years and years. Like, how would they even do that?
I don't care, as long as it's Zelda.
I think you go small dungeons, do miniature experiences, something like that. 2D. You obviously can't. Well, I mean, then again, Oceanhorn. That did it quite well on mobile. But I think I'd go 2D. I think it's the easier one to transition to mobile.
Yeah, that makes sense. And in terms of other games that Nintendo have been talking about lately and actually releasing, we are in sort of a very privileged position in that about an hour and a half ago, Nintendo decided to just randomly announce that they do actually have a Paper Mario game coming out, and it's coming out in 2 months.
Oh my God.
Which is just, it's ridiculous. It's like, oh yeah, we've got a Paper Mario game. Here's a tweet. It comes out on July 17th. Are you kidding me? That's no time to build up. It's just like, it's like Beyonce suddenly dropping Lemonade or whatever. I'm not down
Stealth
with
drop,
yeah. It's so.
Or Apex Legends.
I mean, is this the future of game reveals? Just tweeting it out there, because we've had Nintendo Switch, we've had Switch Directs and Nintendo Directs in general before, but there's always at least like 24 hours warning. I mean, do we think that this is going to be just how it goes from now on, or all the big developers just go, oh yeah, this game it's out, there we go, it's sorted. FIFA 21 is available now. And they just put it on a TikTok video or something. Is that how it's going to go, or I don't know.
I quite like it though, to be fair. It's just a shock of it. It just like it, for you two, it obviously made your day. I've never played
Yeah, I mean, Paper Mario is like my favorite ever series, so I'm ecstatic for this. Like, I just this is what I mean. That I was just like literally looked at my phone, and there it is, Nintendo America tweet. Here's a new Paper Mario game, the Origami King. I'm like, what? You can't just do that to me. I'm hugely excited. If obviously that's not coming across, which clearly is. It's a little disappointing though, because it's not as exciting as it could have been if it was in a direct. As we were saying, you know, when they have their E3 presentation normally, when they stick this in, that is, you know, you get hype moment. That is, you know, what people look forward to in the games industry all year round, these amazing reveals. And just to drop it on a Thursday afternoon, just be like, hey, this game's coming out. It's exciting. It's just nowhere near on the same level.
See, when they do this kind of thing, it always feels to me like they don't actually have faith in the game. So it was like it was similar with Yoshi's Woolly World, or not?
Yeah.
What was the Switch Yoshi game?
And it was the Woolly World and Yarn or something. Yarn. I don't know. I just know it was Yarn Yoshi, wasn't it?
Was it? No, I think that's the DS one. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's
Crafted
World.
Crafting World. That's it.
The cardboard one. Yoshi's Crafted World. I remember when they were kind of announcing that, and it was just like. It was just be in the middle of a direct. It'd be one of the casual announcements. We're making a Yoshi game. Anyway, moving on. And it always felt to me like when they do that, it's because they don't have the faith to put like a huge marketing push into it. And like I feel like that kind of makes sense for Paper Mario, because as much as it's one of the best series that Nintendo has, and it has a huge fan base like of hardcore fans who are definitely going to buy this. One, they kind of screwed the series a bit over the past few games. It's because they've experimented too much and taken away from what people actually love about Paper Mario. Matthew, I know you're going to defend Color Splash on Wii U.
No. It's debatable to some extent, but yes, arguably since Super Paper Mario, they've been changing the format. So there isn't really a format for Paper Mario to some extent now, because 4 out of 5 have all been different. Yeah. Like, so it sort of does make sense. I know
4 out of 5 are different, then the 5th one's different as well. Have there been 6 games?
Sorry, what I mean is, so you got the first 2. You've asked me to do this now, so I've got to do it. So you've got the original and 1,000 Year Door, which are the turn-based, you know, general adventure and everything like that, which everyone loves. Then you've got Super Paper Mario, which is more like your 2D traditional mixed in with 3D. So like your normal Super Mario Brothers games mixed in with that. You've then got Sticker Star, which we don't like to talk about. Brings in sticker elements, which nobody likes. And then Color Splash sort of built off that a little bit, but then changed it up a little bit more. And went sort of back to how the original were. And it was sort of a mesh of them, but it still wasn't right. And now this new one seems to go back even further to the original 2 while bringing in Color Splash. So while that's out of the way, I know what you mean about the casual announcements. I think the thing is, Paper Mario is not a game you end on in a direct. It's got a big fan base, but it's not. It is, as you say, a Yoshi game where it'd be, you know, they have the 40 minutes announcements. Here's, you know, lots of new games. Paper Mario is somewhere in the middle there, and everyone that loves it gets excited then. But to just drop it on the Thursday, I just wonder if it's circumstantial, you know, with COVID-19 and everything as well.
Yeah, that's true, because they've been lots of rumors going around that Nintendo's just not doing big directs, not doing any E3 style thing. But obviously, he's got these games and it needs to release them and make money and keep people hyped. So maybe this is how Nintendo's actually just going to keep doing this in the future, is just to, at least for now and the rest of this year, if it's got a game, just go, here's the game, and then just try and keep moving on. Because I guess the thing as well is that Nintendo, I think I've already spoken about, is that, or not necessarily spoken about, but because one of the rumors of the reasons why they push back a direct is because they are not used to working from home, and all their games have had to end up delayed. Obviously, Paper Mario clearly hasn't been delayed that badly, because they've announced it with 2 months to go. So that's probably going gold sometime soon. But I think I completely forgot my point. I just started rambling. I knew I was going somewhere with this. Hang on. Yeah, so what they're actually doing is they kind of just, they'll have to sort of look at what games are actually ready and available to them, and then go, right, I guess we just have to announce that now. So I remember, I think, I don't know if this was technically public information, but I know that the starting period of their mobile time Fire Emblem Heroes is supposed to come out like 3rd or 4th in the roster. It just happened that Super Mario Run, in fact, was supposed to come out 3rd or 4th, and it was supposed to be Fire Emblem. But Fire Emblem was taking too long, and Super Mario was basically done. So they just sort of went, okay, we're announcing that instead, and threw it way forward and just pushed that forward. So I think Nintendo has the capability to do that flexibility. But it's still just...
that turned out.
Yeah. It still just feels a bit weird. To not have this big build-up and this big hype, which I guess is what we're also losing in E3.
Yeah,
2020 is the year of no hype.
Yeah, but I just can't see why they can't do a Direct still, because if they have the announcements as like a Paper Mario just like that, they could just do a Paper Mario Direct. People would be excited for that.
I don't think you could talk about Paper Mario for 20 minutes and hold.
But they've done Xenoblade and stuff like that, so...
Yeah, that's true.
I think Matt could. I think Matt could talk about it for 20 minutes.
Shigeru, if you're watching. Miyamoto-san, if you are watching. Why? Thank you. Okay, let's move on from Nintendo before we lose Matt to the thrall of Paper Mario too much. And we'll move on to something which I think Keighley's particularly excited by. Not necessarily the first bit of this, but the second bit. EA is their financials have also come out. It is financial season. And they have announced sort of quietly in the footnotes of their presentation that they will be soft launching 2 new games this year. Or it might have been 3 new games, and I've sort of discounted one of them because we already know about Plants vs Zombies 3, which they didn't include in there when they said, "Oh, we're soft launching games." They didn't mention Plants vs Zombies 3, which we do know they have soft launch. I mean, first of all, well, hang on. My first of all doesn't make sense unless I introduce the second of all. The second of all is there's also been some rumors going around that Skate 3, a 360 and PS3 game, might be coming to mobile for some reason. Keighley, you seem super psyched about this.
Oh, hell yes.
Do you think it would actually work on mobile, though? Because Skate 3, to me, is a very particular style of gameplay with the whole trick stick stuff and that kind of thing. Like, 1, why are you excited? And 2, do you think it would actually work?
Okay, so I'll start with number 2. I don't think it's going to be to the standard of the console, obviously, because with any skateboarding game, there's hundreds of tricks. There's loads to it, but I think it can work. It can work on mobile. I do believe that, but just not to the standard of console. But I grew up skateboarding, like massive skater when I was younger. Grew up on Tony Hawk. I love the skate games, and so to find out that one could actually come to mobile, it could be bad, and I'd actually give it praise. just because I love skateboarding games.
Skate 3 actually celebrated its 10-year anniversary 3 days ago.
Did it?
Yeah,
of course it did, yeah.
May 11th. So I think it might just be, just something to tie in with the anniversary. Although you think they've announced that by now. If so.
Yeah, I was going to say, if they were actually going to do this, that would have been a great time to say, oh, by the way, Skate 3's on mobile now.
I mean, it's just it's an odd choice. I mean, everyone's still waiting for Skate 4, aren't they? I mean, the amount of excitement that came out for the new Tony Hawk remasters, Pro Skater 1 and 2, which was part of Geoff Keighley's Summer of Gaming.
Yeah.
That got Skate 3 trending, just because of how many people, want it and everything. A remaster or anything like that, a new iteration. I just don't think anybody happy with this, to be honest. I think it can make some money. I think it could do well, but I don't think the vocal... Again, is it a vocal minority or not? But I don't think the people that have grown up playing these games want it for mobile.
Oh, no, they want the console one, absolutely. But I'd settle for a mobile one just to have something new, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I feel like a straight port of it onto mobile just wouldn't work. And but like if you take it away from Skate 3 and it's a completely different game now, it's like, at what point does it stop being Skate 3 and start just being Skate Mobile? Which I think that could also work. Well, there have been mobile skate games like I think it's Touch Grind is the big series where it's just your fingers on the skateboard and you do the tricks and all that kind of thing. And that's kind of cool and fun, but very, very lightweight. Whereas Skate 3 is always a bit more in depth and that kind of thing. So I'm curious to see if this actually happens and how it does work.
For something like this, I always find for something that's an established console brand that makes its way to mobile, which obviously much of the internet will jump on and hate immediately, it's great to have a console game ready alongside that. To go, look, hey, we're making Skate Mobile, but we've also got Skate 4 ready. Or like it's coming next year. Do you know what I mean? So then both camps are happy.
Maybe that's what they're waiting for. Maybe we're just holding off on Skate 3 because Skate 4 isn't ready yet.
I need to make it. I need Skate 4. I need that in my life. Sorry to disappear from mobile, but yeah.
Skate 3 is one of the best games ever made, so a fourth one would not go amiss. In terms of other EA soft launch games, I mean, they have all these franchises and stuff. Is there anything that we would particularly want to see, or is there anything we are where you might expect? I mean, they've already got the FIFA game locked down, and they just update that regularly now. I wonder if they're going to do anything for the NFL, or I don't think they have the NBA license. I think that's with 2K, isn't it? So
that's right.
Yeah, and I know that Nifty Games, who are a smaller, young upstart publisher of sports games, have just got the NFL license. They've just got the NBA license. They're probably going to start getting other licenses based on who's investing in them. Wink, wink. Take a closer look at that one, boys. And yeah, I think it's interesting. I wonder if EA are going to either start pushing harder on the sports games they do have, or if they're going to start looking at other licenses that they have. Because I feel like there's been a whole bunch of EA Star Wars games, or Star Wars games in general, that have been like talked about but not soft launched yet. I feel like there's one that's like due at some point. I wish I could remember what it was called. Oh, it's going to kill me. Someone else talk about what they want in their games for a sec while I Google this.
I'm looking forward to Apex Legends on mobile.
Of course, yeah.
I'm a huge Apex fan. I've played probably about 200 hours of it on console. It just seems ideal for mobile. We've seen how Fortnite has transitioned to it incredibly well. PUBG as well. You know, they're both behemoths on the platform. And Apex Legends just seems a perfect fit.
Yeah, that makes sense. The Star Wars game I was thinking of is Rise to Power, which is in a closed pre-alpha test on Google Play at the minute. I feel like if they're taking so long on this, I imagine we're going to start seeing that getting some sort of traction soon. And if they're talking about soft launching games, I reckon that's going to be one of the next ones at the very least.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Cool. It sucks when stuff makes sense because then we all go quiet.
Yeah, you totally killed it. That was logic.
This is why it's hard doing a podcast about business, is that you have to be logical. When you're too logical, everyone just goes, yes, and then you have to move on. Speaking of moving on, so Playrix is a big developer. Kind of came out of nowhere a few years ago with Gardenscapes, and then has kind of grown on that with Homescapes and stuff. Now one of the I would argue probably one of the biggest casual developers in the world, and that has been kind of proven by the fact that recently App Annie data shows that Gardenscapes is the first Match 3 or Match Plus build game to take a title. Oh, sorry, Match Plus build. I always say Match Plus in my head as if it's like, oh, it means Match 4, which used to be a thing for about 2 days. Match 3 or Match Plus build game to take the title away from Candy Crush of the highest monthly global consumer spend. There is unfortunately a lot of couching in this story. It beats it, but only in terms of it's a Match 3 game, and it was for 1 month in revenue. However, I still think that's really impressive because Gardenscapes is, in essence, a completely different game to Candy Crush. Because Candy Crush Saga is just this constantly evolving game where you just get more and more levels, whereas Gardenscapes has a full narrative involved in it as well. Matthew,
I mean, if anything can topple Candy Crush, it's always worth reporting on because, what is it, November 2012, the last time since this
I think that's right.
was broken. Candy Crush is just incredible, the legs it's had and continues to do so. So whenever, something comes in and managed to supplant it, like Gardenscapes has, it's absolutely worth shouting about.
Yeah. And the other interesting thing is that Playrix, we've got some data from Sensor Tower, which is suggesting that Playrix has now cleared 1.1 billion downloads across its entire catalogue of games, with Gardenscapes, I believe, is the top spot. Yep, 324 million installs of Gardenscapes. And then you've got Homescapes, which is a very similar game with a different narrative, which is 312.4 million downloads. And then Township and Fishdom, which continue to do well for both of them. Yeah, I mean, like, why do we think that people are turning to Gardenscapes and Homescapes instead of the typical match 3? I have an opinion about this, but I'll let someone else talk first. Has anyone even played Gardenscapes?
I think I have.
Hey, finally.
I think.
You probably
left a memorable impression, apparently.
Oh, yeah. You probably played something similar to it, because I think a lot of games saw Gardenscapes and went, hang on a minute, they've got something here.
Give me a second. It might even be on my phone.
I haven't played Gardenscapes, but I have played its latest game, Mana Matters.
Yes, because they're pushing out
into that last week.
Yeah, that's a whole different genre for them, isn't it? Because they're moving into
hidden objects. Yes. Yeah.
People weird.
It's on my phone.
Hey, so you have played it.
So I have played it,
but you don't remember it, I'm guessing.
No, I've played other games since then.
I mean, my experience, I got really into Homescapes when that first launched. I don't know why. I think, so this is my feeling on why these games are doing really well. And particularly now when we're all sort of inside and not doing anything. The narratives of these games are, well, first of all, they have narratives. So you have a reason to keep going back, and they have this energy system where you win sort of like the ability to do things by winning matches in the game. So you solve some match 3 puzzles, and it gives you a star, and then you can spend that star on building something new in your house or your garden or whatever, and then you just keep going and going like that. I think what's appealing to people on that sort of front is that we can't go outside. And I mean, some people have gardens, but they can't go out and start playing with them. Or some people don't have access to like wide open greener spaces anymore. So Gardenscapes, I imagine, gives that sort of release where you can go, oh, I'm going to build a little garden, and it's going to be lovely and peaceful outside, and also I'm going to play this game and spend some money on it. And the same for Homescapes as well, where you're building up a mansion instead. It's like you have some control over your life. As sort of distressing as that is, I think that might be it, because it's that having control over something and being able to go, right, I want to put this there and this there and this there, while still having the core gameplay loop bringing you in. That might be, I think, why it's going on. Also, probably Playrix is spending a lot of money on user acquisition at the minute, because it sees an open goal for making money.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. The US came out on top. I think they've got, so it's $2 billion of the total figure they've counted for.
That's $2 billion in revenue, not downloads. Just to clarify.
Yeah. Thank you. So I think it makes sense. Just with everyone being locked down and everything like that, to have some way to express yourself through a garden or a project, anything like that. And if it's got a narrative hooked into it, it goes a long way. Yeah,
absolutely. Again, all-round agreement. That's why I'm the editor, because I have all the best opinions.
Wow.
Except for things that aren't mobile games. Right. We do have one final topic, and I'm going to take a quick swig. My water tastes like tomatoes, and it's awful. Quali.
Lovely.
Yeah, pro tip. So we're going to do a new segment now. It's called Pro Tips of Lockdown Living. Pro tip, don't leave an open tin of tomatoes in your fridge next to your Brita filter. Anyway, that's the end of that segment. Quali is now opening more roles to remote workers. So Quali obviously is a hyper-casual developer. I say obviously, Quali is a hyper-casual developer based in Leamington Spa in the UK. They before had never done any kind of remote working. Everyone sort of had to move to the Leamington Spa to work at their studio. They are now opening up to 14 new positions that will be exclusively for remote workers, or I think you get the option basically, but they will be, the capability of working entirely from home is there, and it's something that they've sort of learnt from whilst all working from home. They've learned actually we can run a company like this and still make money and still make it work, which I think is really interesting. Do you think this is going to be the beginning of a new trend? Are we going to see even more developers sort of looking at their current systems and going, actually, we can make this work?
I think so. That's one of the silver linings to COVID-19 is obviously before everyone said, no, you can't work from home, you can't work remotely, it just doesn't work. And actually, no, this has proven that you can, and you can do it effectively. And this week, I've been fortunate enough to do a couple of interviews, and both of which said, yes, they will, same as Keighley, be happy to move remote working into their structure because they've realised there's benefits to it. And it's actually not as difficult as they thought it was going to be.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think funny enough, saw this week the co-founders of Respawn, they opened a new studio and they announced it's going to be fully remote working.
Yes, of course, yeah. And then you've got the likes of like Roll7, who made the Ollie Ollie series and other wonderful games. They have always been remote working and they're sort of thriving in that. I saw that Mediatonic, who made Gears Pop and other stuff, they've started saying like they're hiring at the minute, but they're also sort of saying, well, we are kind of open to the idea of remote working. So I think we are already seeing developers sort of take that on board and make it happen. The thing that, so I, as you may well know, obviously you in the chat, and as our listeners and watchers may know, we hosted our first ever PocketGamer.biz roundtable this week. And the discussion there was around how COVID-19 is affecting the games industry and also the shift to working from home. And I think there was a lot of actual trepidation in that chat about, are we going to see more studios offering remote working? Because I sort of posed the question, like, how much of things change, how much things being affected? And it sounds like everything across the board of the development pipeline, even beyond just like getting art assets to other people when they're like huge file sizes, getting that kind of like code and assets and that kind of thing is proving difficult, but also the publishing side of it and talking to people, the hiring side of it, because people like to like actually meet people in real life before they hire them, which was very unique to me, having the Steel Media way of just do it online and then you're done, and then never meet anybody until we do Pocket Gamer Connects in London. So yeah, I don't know if everybody's going to latch onto this. I don't know if the bigger companies, like, I don't know if we're going to see EA turn around and go, right, remote working for everybody kind of thing.
I don't think for everyone. I think it'll just be more open, more accessible, and hopefully it'll be better for everybody. You know, we work from home. It's definitely much better for my situation right now. I think, you know, there's so many people out in the world that would love the opportunity. The other benefits from it is that being able to employ anybody from anywhere, you've got a wider range of talent to pull from. You know, not everybody has to be in London. You know, you can pull from the whole of the UK, for instance. Yeah, and
you know, it also means that people with like accessibility issues, as I was saying before, with attending events, they can more easily presumably get set up in their home offices, and as long as the companies are supporting them in that way and providing the right equipment and stuff, it means that you can have just, as you say, like basically anybody, as long as they're the right fit. They don't have to then uproot their entire lives. You don't have to think, oh, well, do they have children? Do they have family? That kind of thing. Do they have a reason to stay? And can they just uproot that and move halfway across the country or halfway across the world or whatever?
Yeah, more options, the better.
Yeah. I'm wondering if, I don't know how far this will go, though, if we will see like studios opening in Los Angeles who say, oh, we'll accept remote work from anywhere, or if it's still going to have to be, okay, well, we're going to do it, but you have to be in the right time zone. Or that kind of thing. I don't know if how far we're going to take remote working, but I think it's fun. I'm really interested. Fun. I think it's really interesting to see like where this is going to go and how it's going to evolve. It's a bit of a laugh, isn't it? You know, everybody's just getting together on Zoom and chatting and making games. It's all fun.
The virtual backgrounds, you know.
If only I could get my virtual backgrounds working. My virtual background game would be so strong. I will be buying a green screen soon, I swear, just to make it happen. Right. I think that's kind of everything that we had to talk about today, which is great. I imagine this has gone on way longer than I thought it has. I do not have a track of the time or the day or the dates or anything at the moment. It's all just one sort of ceaseless sludge of time moving forwards. And please, God, let me go outside sometime soon. Thank you all for joining us, all of our wonderful listeners and watchers on YouTube and just in your ears in the background. It's always a pleasure doing this and chatting to these folks about all our thoughts and stuff like that. I should probably do some announcements about our upcoming digital events. Next week, on the 19th, so Tuesday the 19th at 4 p.m. British summertime, we will be doing another roundtable. This one will be about pitching, and we'll feature people from Lockwood Publishing and Decca Games, and we've got Sophia from our team who's also going to be doing we're just going to sit down and talk about like pitching in this time and how any advice on doing it and all that kind of stuff. We'll also have another one of those in a couple of weeks, and I think we're going to try and keep that on sort of a weekly basis. We've also got Pocket Gamer Connects Digital number 2 coming up. That is, I always get the date wrong, but I think it's June 8th. Someone correct me. No, it's June 8th. June 8th to the 12th. June 8th. Thank you. Tickets are available for that right now. Midterm pricing on that is going to end soon, so if you want a discounted ticket, now is the time to get one. We have just announced that we are improving our meeting system. That was one of the sticking points of the last one, but this time around it's going to be vastly improved. We've got a whole other raft of features, and of course all the wonderful talks and chats. We may even have a digital a podcast going live during that as well. I will have some roundtables during that time as well. We've also got Blockchain Gamer Connects coming up digitally, and we will have more events to talk about in the future, I'm sure, both digitally and hopefully physically. And I think that is everything. So all that leaves me to do is to say thank you to Matthew for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you to Keighley.
Thank you.
And thank you to me. Thank you for organising this and doing such a great job as a host of a podcast. This has been the PocketGamer.biz podcast. Please do check us out on PocketGamer.biz if you don't already, to find out even more about all the stories we've talked about and great interviews, news, all that kind of good stuff. And we will see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.